I had this meeting that I was supposed to attend. It was coming up shortly, and I wasn't too fond of the person that I was going to meet. And that's putting it mildly. The meeting was late in the evening, disrupting some plans that I already had. And the part that bugged me the most, the meeting was totally unnecessary. I was so convinced. This meeting was not at all needed. So, a person I don't like, an ungodly hour, a useless meeting. So, all this coming together. I kept on playing this again and again in my mind, that how I didn't want to attend this meeting. But then a story that Ajahn Brahm, a very respected Buddhist monk, had once narrated, it came back to me. And it totally changed my attitude towards this meeting. Before I narrate the story, I hope you understand and appreciate. It's not just about this meeting in particular. The meeting is just a very commonplace example of the kind of stress that we take, of the kind of anxiety that we bring about ourselves. And trust me, I was taking stress about this particular meeting. Let's hear the story now. So Ajahn Brahm, now he's much older, but at that time was a young monk serving his teacher in a monastery. The respectable teacher, a very, very famous and prominent Buddhist monk of that time, Ajahn Chah, he had just got his room totally renovated in the entire building. And what had come about as a result of this renovation was that there was a huge pile of earth that was right next to the building that was unused. Earth, stones, whatever you can imagine it, a building that's totally been renovated. And by the way, this story is taking place 30, 40 years ago in Thailand, in the jungles of Thailand. And it's very, very sweaty over there. You get the picture. Very hot, very sweaty. Now the master could have paid some workers to get this earth shifted, the unused material and the material that had been dug out. But like Ajahn Brahm so eloquently says, why do that when you have, free unpaid labor all around you? I think in academia that equates to grad students, but that's a story for another day. So what the master did, all the novice monks who used to serve under him, he called a meeting, and said, these huge piles of earth which are gathered in front of my new renovated building, you have to move them as quickly as possible. No breaks allowed. And you have to move them to the back of the newly renovated building. For you to truly appreciate the task at hand, you have to understand that these monks used to eat only once a day, a teeny tiny meal. One would barely call it a meal by today's standards. They used to eat only once a day. So they used to get up early in the morning, do their prayers, and around 8, 9 a.m. they used to start working and then work non-stop. Apart from this very small meal, they used to work pretty much non-stop doing this work till 10 p.m. But Ajahn Brahm was happy to do this work when these orders came to him, because he had received just so much from his teacher. This was just in his mind a very, very small way of giving it all back. So he went about it quite happily, quite cheerfully as you can imagine one doing this hard, back-breaking work. And it took entire 3 days to get this work done. 3 days of non-stop working from 8 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night, barely eaten anything, no time for even taking a bath, because by the time you used to return back to your room at 10 p.m., you pretty much had no energy left. You just lay on your bed and went to sleep. Woke up the next morning and you were back at it again. It took 3 entire days to actually move this great big pile of earth from front of the building to the back of the building. But finally they were done, and he was happy. He had been of service to his master. It so happened at the end of third day, the master, he had to visit another monastery. He left for another monastery. So the monks, as per their practice, woke up early the next day. They were ready to go for their meditation. But the guy who was left in charge, let's call him the deputy, monk, the guy who was left in charge of the monastery while the master had gone away, he gave a new order. He said, the pile of earth that has been moved at the back of the building is not in the right place. I want you guys to move it to this particular place. This is not the right place where you have put it right now. So back to the work again they went. Ajahn Brahm wasn't so enthusiastic about it this time. Who would be 3 days of back-breaking work, and it was all for nothing, and now you got to do it all over again? No, he wasn't too thrilled about it, but at the same time, he saw the deputy's point. Yes, currently, from the way, if you look at his perspective, the earth wasn't put in the right place. It had to be shifted. It made sense. So he went back to doing it again. So this thankless work again took 3 days, again the same scenario, again starting at 8 a.m., again going on till 10 p.m., not even time for a shower, 3 days of back-breaking work, and they did it. Finally, it was over. Now they could go back to the meditation, the pursuit of enlightenment, why these Westerners had actually, were staying in a monastery in the jungles of Thailand in the first place. It was not to do this work. It was to attain peace, calm, enlightenment, whatever the good stuff you can think of. But it was done. The work was done. It just so happened the master, Ajahn Chah, returned from his trip the next day, and he got so angry. He said, when I had told you guys to put the earth over there, why did you move it to the new place? He got very, very upset. He got furious. And he asked these monks, these young monks, now to shift the earth back to the original place again. Now this made Ajahn Brahm, he lost it. He started swearing, obviously in English, so that nobody else could understand. The first time when he was given this thing, he thought that was a way of actually repaying his master, so he was happy doing it. The second time, he thought, hey, it still made some sense, so he did it, not so happily, but he still did it. The third time, it was just nonsense. He couldn't take it anymore. There was no reason to do this. It was just like, it was a useless, thankless job. Why do it? This is not why he was here in the first place. And he grew very, very agitated. But then, an old monk came to him, put his hand over his shoulder, and told him, It is not the task that is making you agitated. The task is not that difficult. You have already done it twice. It is your mind thinking about the task. That is what is making it so difficult. Isn't that so true? So applicable for most of our stress? Stress is always something, anxiety is always something that's there in the future. It's not the task itself that makes us anxious or stressed. It is the thinking about it. Because imaginary problems can have no real solutions. Yes, I have a meeting with a person I don't like at an hour I don't like, and it's a pointless meeting. But right now, what's annoying me about the meeting, what's making me anxious about that meeting, is actually just the thought of attending that meeting. It's not the meeting itself. The main reason for our stress, the main reason for our suffering, is actually our own mind, our own thoughts, and not the situation itself.